Welcome back. Call somebody out of their name is an expression that has been used amongst African Americans for at least 28 years. Geneva Smitherman, author of Black Talk, Words and Phrases from the Hood to the Amen Corner, 1994, offers this definition of the term. Call somebody out of their name is to insult someone, to talk about a person in a negative way, especially to call the person a name or to hurl an accusation at the person. An example of this, she come talking about I stole her ring. I don't appreciate nobody calling me out of my name. This example implies that she's a thief. The practice of literally calling someone out of their name predates this expression and is the first act of enslavement. Most of us know of the iconic moment in the movie Roots when the West African Kunte Kinte refuses to be called Toby, as this was not his name. He was severely punished for this refusal. Further, if you listen to the first Oluadah Equiano video, I read what he said about the significance of names in Benin, West Africa. Oluadah wrote, I was named Oluadah, which in our language signifies vicissitude or fortune also. One favored and having a loud voice and well spoken. I remember we never polluted the name of an object of adoration. On the contrary, it was always mentioned with the greatest reverence. And we were totally unacquainted with swearing and all those terms of abuse and reproach which find their way so readily and copiously into the languages of more so-called civilized people. The only expression of that kind I remember were may you rot, or may you swell, or may a beast take you. End quote. Names are meant to matter and serves as a connection to history, families, community, and culture. To call someone out of their name is to cut them off from their identity. It is psychologically abusive and cultural genocide. The second way in which Black people were called out of their names to dehumanize them and to cause them to internalize racial inferiority is with the use of the N-word, ending in either AH or ER. If you listened to the Betty Powers slave narrative, then you heard the start. She addressed herself, quote, what for you wants this old N-word story about the old slavery days? Tain't worth anything. I's just a hard-working person all my life and raised the family and done right by them as best as I know. Betty Powers was a great woman, not an N-word. The Jim Crow Museum website records there's a direct and strong link between the N-word and anti-Black caricatures. Although N has been used to refer to any person of known African ancestry, it is usually directed against Black people who supposedly have negative characteristics. The Coon caricature, for example, portrays Black men as lazy, ignorant, and obsessively self-indulgent. These are also traits historically represented by the N-word. The Brute caricature depicts Black men as angry, physically strong, animalistic, and prone to wanton violence. This depiction is also implied in the N-word. The Tom and Mammy caricatures are often portrayed as kind, loving, friends of white people. They are also presented as intellectually childlike, physically unattractive, and neglectful of their biological families. These latter traits have been associated with Black people and are generally implied in the N-word. The N-word was a shorthand way of saying that Black people possess the moral intellectual, social, and physical characteristics of the coon, the brute, the tom, the mammy, and other racial caricatures, end quote. Now, the NAACP on the N-word. Whereas the Merriam-Webster dictionary defines the N-word as usually offensive, a black person, member of socially disadvantaged class of persons, and whereas the N-word has been established to be derogatory, degrading, dehumanizing, and is one of the most offensive words in history, and whereas the N-word is too often freely and casually used by some individuals in popular media, literature, and general society, with usage broadened across racial and generational backgrounds, and whereas the stigma of this word embodies and invokes painful memories and inhumane ill will, and countless individuals, including the NAACP freedom fighters, have lost their lives due to the beliefs perpetuated by the use of this word. Therefore, be it resolved that the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People shall not condone, award, or engage any person that uses the N-word in any capacity or in any artistic endeavor that does not allude to the historical context of the N-word, or that does not highlight the prejudicial nature of the word. And be it finally resolved that the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People implement the following actions to reinforce its ban on the use of the N-word issued in 2007, and bolsters education and awareness about the offensiveness of the word across racial and generational lines. Make the ban reinforcement a top civil rights priority for all units, and urge every youth unit in consultation with their corresponding adult branch to develop a plan of action for implementation. Plan must include internal branches, affirmation, public awareness, community outreach, and a reporting process. In places where no active youth unit exists, the adult unit would be held to the same requirement. My channel is about fostering a positive Black identity, so on this page, I will never use the N-word. Thanks for listening.